Good morning, students. For today's class, we are going to see about our environment. And our environment comprises of both the living and the non-living things. And what does our environment provide us? Yes, it provides air, water and land from where we get our food. But due to our human activities like industries and automobiles, our environment is being affected. So today we are going to see about the unwanted changes in the physical, chemical and biological properties of the environment. We are going to see about the environmental effects. So the substances which causes the changes are called as the pollutants. Okay, and generally there are three types of pollutions. The first type of pollution is the air pollution, and water pollution and the land pollution. And the pollutants, the example of the chemical substances are the nitrogen oxides, the carbon monoxide, the sulfur oxide and the chlorofluorocarbons. And the first type of pollution is the air pollution. The chemical substances responsible for the pollution are the carbon monoxide and oxides of sulfur, oxides of nitrogen and chlorofluorocarbons, etc. Alright, and as a result of these, it causes the acid rain, it causes global warming and respiratory problems to our human beings. So the acid rain is a term that includes any form of precipitation with acidic compounds such as the sulfuric acid or the nitric acid that falls on the ground from the atmosphere. It affects the buildings, statues, etc. So here is the image of a Taj Mahal. So this is how the acid rain has affected the Taj Mahal, and that's how the Taj Mahal looks now. And the next type of pollution is the water pollution. The water pollution is the contamination of the water bodies, usually as a result of human activities. And the water bodies includes the lakes, rivers and oceans, groundwaters, etc. So here the waste is being dumped into the ocean. As a result, the living creatures of the oceans are being affected. And the chemical substances responsible for the pollution are the wastewater containing the chemical substances, alright, like dyeing of the industries, detergents and oil spillage, etc. And as a result, it affects the effects or the decrease in quality of water and skin diseases in human beings, etc. The last type of pollution is the soil pollution. So soil pollution is another form of land pollution where the upper layer of the soil is being damaged. And the causes are the chemical fertilizers being used. The chemical fertilizers, soil or erosion and the other pest control measures. So this leads to the loss of the fertile land, forest cover, fodder and patches for grazing, etc. So here is an image of the waste is being dumped to the land, dumped to the soil. So the fertility of the soil, the fertility of the land is being lost. So what happens when the steel benches or tables, what happens to steel benches and tables during the rainy season? Yes, they turn reddish brown. So here you can see the bench is being, it turns into reddish brown. It has patches of reddish brown. So this is called as the rusting. It is because the iron metals comes in contact with the water and oxygen, and it undergoes a chemical reaction called rusting. So here it is called the rusting. This is the reddish brown. So this is called as the rusting. And the next topic is about the tarnishing of the metals. Alright, so the shiny surfaces and other articles lose their shiny appearance due to the chemical reactions on the surface. And example is the silver articles. When it is being exposed to air, the silver articles become black. It becomes black on the exposure to the atmospheric air. And the brass vessel, it turns green. So the brass vessel contains copper. Okay, it contains copper, and which develops a greenish layer. It develops a greenish layer on the exposure of the air. for a long time. So this is due to the chemical reaction between the copper and the moist air. This topic we are going to see is about the production of heat and light. Have you ever rubbed your palms in winter season to keep yourself warm? Yes, the chemical reactions also produces heat energy, and such reaction is called as the exothermic reaction. Let me give you an example. For example, when you add water to quicklime, that is the calcium oxide, a lot of heat is released to produce slaked lime. A lot of heat is being produced to slaked lime, which is the calcium hydroxide. And what happens when you ignite a candle? When you ignite a candle, what happens? You get light as a result of burning. We get light as a result of burning, and some chemical reaction like these produces light. For example, when you take a piece of magnesium ribbon, okay, when a piece of magnesium ribbon is burnt in a flame, what happens? It gives a bright light. A bright light is produced with heat. And the chemical reactions also do produce sound. It also produces sound. What happens when you fire the cracker during Diwali? The chemical substances that is kept in the crackers undergo some chemical reactions to produce sound. So when you fire the crackers, it gives bright light and it also gives us sound. It produces sound. So example is when zinc reacts with diluted acid, it gives hydrogen gas. Hydrogen gas is produced, and the hydrogen gas, it reacts with oxygen in the air to produce a pop sound. So a pop sound is produced. The production of pressure. We are going to see about the production of pressure. What happens when you compress hard on a balloon having full air? Yes, it will burst. It will burst due to the sudden release of air as a result of increased pressure. So some chemical reaction produces gas which builds up the pressure when the reaction takes place in a closed container. So if the pressure level goes up, if the pressure level goes beyond the limit, we get the explosion. There are also other effects that takes place as a result of chemical reactions. The first effect is here. What happens when you try to open a soda bottle? You can see the air bubbles coming out of the soda water. Similarly, gas evolution takes place as a result of chemical reaction. For example, when dilute hydrochloric acid is added to a solution of sodium carbonate or sodium bicarbonate, carbon dioxide gases evolve. And what happens when you stand under the sun for a long time? What happens to your skin when you stand under the sun? There is change in your skin. Your skin becomes dark. Like this, chemical reactions also, the chemical changes also produces change in color. So there is a change in color. For example, when you place an iron nail, in a solution of copper sulfate, the blue color of the copper sulfate, it slowly changes into green. Color. So this is due to the chemical reaction between the iron and the copper sulfate solution. So there is a change in color. The next state is when I want you all to take a ice cube. Okay, I want you all to take a small ice cube and place it on a plate. And what happens after some time to the ice cubes? When you place the ice cube on a plate, and what happens to the ice cubes after some time? Yes, the ice melts into water. So here the solid ice cube, it changes into liquid. So like this, certain chemical reactions changes its state. So there is a change of state is being observed in certain chemical reaction. For example, when you burn a piece of camphor, what do you observe? Smoke comes out as a result of chemical reaction between the solid camphor and the oxygen. So here there is a change of state from solid to gas. Now let's have a quick recap about today's class. That's all for today's class. Now let's have a quick recap. So first we saw about the types of pollution. We saw about the chemical substances and the and its effect. We saw about the water pollution, air pollution, and the land pollution. We saw about the chemical substances and its effect. And then we saw what is rusting. When the iron metals comes in contact with the air, rusting takes place. And we saw about what is tarnishing. And then as a effect, we saw about the production of heat, light, sound, and pressure with example. And then the other effects were the evaluation of the gas and the change in color and state. That's all for today's class, students. Now I want you all to take your one-side science class work and write about more chemical reactions that takes place in our day-to-day life. Thank you, children.